Hello crafters, it's June. That means I'm going on a floss adventure. If you haven't seen my previous video, basically I'm challenging everyone to try a new craft and use up some of the random embroidery floss you have in your collection. I know you have plenty. You've got some to spare. You can figure it out. Whether it's from your main collection of DMC bobbins or whether it's random off-brand thread that you got lying around from like a thrift store or leftovers from a kit. Whatever it is, go try a new craft. There will be a link below for the full rules and example crafts because I've already gathered all of the tutorials and free patterns that you could possibly want. Today we're going to be trying two crafts. I will be trying probably 4 total for the month of June, but these are the 2 we're doing in this video. Anyway, I'm going to be starting with shuttle tatting, so I've got a little shuttle here that I need to load, and will hopefully be loaded by the next clip. And then I also picked up a darning loom, which I have helpfully already loaded this sock onto, which has a big old hole in it, and then we're going to try to cover that up. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to try some crazy quilting. And then possibly some needle lace. We'll see. Those are our color palettes since we're working mainly with the Stardew Valley cross-stitch kit colors. But I'm starting with shuttle tatting. I've never tried shuttle tatting. I vaguely know what it consists of. You're just tying knots around a thread. I don't know what I'm doing. This is not a tutorial. This is me stumbling through learning tatting for the first time and bringing you along that journey to show that even if you are a beginner, you too can figure out the thing. Probably. I'm going to be following the tutorial by Squeaker Chimp. That's an adorable name. I love it. And I'm going to be using some of this thread that I have left over from when we were getting thread samples for the Stardew Valley kits from Fangamer. These are all random Chinese brands, and I have like 10 of these packs, and I don't know what to do with them. So that's probably going to be the color scheme for this entire month. I have preemptively wound one of them onto a bobbin and tatting bobbin. This snaps into my tatting shuttle, and that's about as far as I got. It's loaded. We're good. Let's go. Welcome to my desk. I have my tatting shuttle prepared. It's been wound. I'm ready. As I mentioned in the intro, I am using these threads. These specifically in this case $4.98 by some random Chinese brand. I don't know. It's very much silkier and softer than DMC. I kind of like it. But that's what we'll be using for most of this Choose Your Floss adventure. I've even picked out some fabrics for some of the other crafts I want to try that kind of match. So that's kind of the theme for the month so far. First thing I need to do is actually learn how to do the thing that I'm trying to do, which is tatting. So I've pulled up a tutorial by Squeaker Chimp, which I will be awkwardly following along. Most of this is going to be in time-lapse because I doubt you want to watch me going, undo, no, let's pull that back up. But let's just jump right in. I tend to not like tutorials that are just like, do this one stitch over and over again, and then do this other stitch over and over again. And then eventually you'll figure out an actual pattern to use. No, I'm going to jump right into an actual pattern. In this case, we're making a flower, which is why I chose this like red color. It's $4.98. So that's enough of me blabbing. Let's jump right in. I feel like this is just awkward to hold. I don't know if I like that. I will say that I know most tutorials recommend not starting with embroidery thread because it is stranded cotton, which means when I'm trying to do this, I can easily accidentally pierce it and go through the strands instead of using it as one thread. But I'm stubborn, and this definitely can be done with embroidery thread, so I'm gonna try it, even though I don't know what I'm doing, just to prove it. But if you do have single-stranded thread that is a decent weight, then try it with that, because it's probably gonna be easier. But we'll see what happens as we go along. And she does this so much faster, like she just goes whoosh, 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 whoosh. But I can't do that. I have to be a little bit more. I'm definitely not holding this how she is, but I'm trying to get it to work for me. Okay. And then we're gonna go over. And then flipping it. Yes, I did just put the shuttle down to flip it. That's not how you're supposed to do it, but okay, so she wants us to make a picot. I don't have a picot gauge necessarily. I'm gonna be using a yarn needle as my picot gauge for now. I don't think you're supposed to put your shuttle down, but until I get this hand motion down, that's what's happening. I'm gonna try to picot without a gauge this time. No, under first. I don't know what I'm doing. My hands are not coordinated enough for this. Anyone who actually knows tatting is probably cringing horribly right now. Hey, we have a thing. And then we just pull. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is it not? Ring! We have a little ring. Not gonna lie, I probably edited a lot of that out because it was mostly me staring blankly at YouTube and undoing and redoing. This has taken about half an hour to do my first little ring, but I think it's done. I was able to zip it up. So now she wants us to flip it over. So far my biggest struggle has been the picots. My hands don't know how to hold the picot gauge and I'm just using a needle. I didn't even use a picot gauge for the decorative one, so it'll be fine. I'll be able to recreate that exactly later. No worries. But it like my hands don't like, because I'm having to hold the gauge, hold the working thread, and do this shuttling thing, and I don't know how to do the shuttle thing and be able to do it all with one hand. I actually find myself putting the shuttle down to like flip the knot and arrange it, which is not how you're supposed to do that. But it does work technically, so it's fine because I'm a noob and it doesn't have to be perfect. Right? Right. So anyway, for this next part, I think I'm supposed to be working not with the shuttle thread, but with bobbin thread. Let's rewind. Much like cross stitch, you do need to like let this spin out every once in a while so that it's not all twisted, if that helps. I definitely ran into some issues with the stranded cotton. You can see that this picot is a little bit splayed, like the strands are flaying out. But that's fine. It's cute. It'll be fine. We'll see what happens when I try to join the gauges. Okay. So flip, We're holding this now. This is the ball thread. Yeah. Don't know how to hold my hand. I can't hold it taut. Just wind it around my finger a bajillion times. It's fine. She reps it like twice. I'm like, I need like 10. It's fine. At this point, it's not about getting technique right. It's just about learning like what actually makes these stitches so that I know what the goal is. And then I can figure out from there. So you'll notice that I'm going in with the bottom of the tatting shuttle to make my loopy loops, whatever they're called, instead of the front. And that's because I'm afraid of like hitting the thread with it and piercing it, because it is stranded cotton. So I'm just kind of going in with the top. So 1, 2, 3. So I got 6. So now we're making another loop. And this kind of looks like something. You'll see again that the larger picot that I made kind of freehand without a gauge, that the strands are coming apart. So that's the downside of embroidery thread for this. But also, because it's cheap-ass embroidery thread that I don't really care what happens to it, I don't care if it turns out terrible. So that's the plus side of using embroidery thread. So you kind of decide what's more annoying. Wasting good thread or having to go buy new thread just for one thing, or trying it out, seeing if you like it. I mean, obviously I bought a shuttle, but this was like $5, so it's fine. And I don't need more thread. So I refuse to buy more thread right now. But anyway, so we need to flip this, and then now we're using the shuttle thread so that we're making a loop. Right? Nope, see what I mean? It got caught in the thread. Okay, so that's the 3, but it's... I don't know if you can see this well on camera, but the 3 that I just made in that ring is like slightly separated from the rest of it, and it needs to be right up on it. So I think I need to undo that and try that again. Okay, so I redid those 3, and it's closer to the chain than it was before. So now the next step is to awkwardly go through this tiny little picot here and then catch that. The thing is this tiny little crochet hook is too small for the stranded cotton. But it worked out alright. So now we're looped in here, right? And we want to make sure that it's still slidable. Perfect. And now we continue this ring, right? See the working thread keeps sliding off my fingers, so like I don't know how I'm supposed to hold that to keep it from running away. But we'll keep trying different hand positions until I can actually hold it. Alright, here we go. We got a little face looking thing here. That loop still doesn't quite line up, but that's fine. It works. Okay, we've got our next join coming up. I still have no idea how to hold my hands, so that's fun. I've just been kind of all over the place. But I'm getting the hang of it, which is the important part. Things are being made, even if not necessarily in an aesthetically pleasing way. I do a lot of manipulating it by hand to get things to lay right, whereas I'm supposed to be, I think, just letting it fall into place, but that's not how that works for me. Okay. So we've got our little connection. I don't know that I am making everything the same size. Like you can already see this loop's a little bit larger than that loop, but that's gonna have to do. This is a first project. I'm not expecting it to be perfect. I'm just trying to get the concept down, honestly. So the rest of the pattern is just kind of repeating this over and over again until I have 6 of these loop-de-loops. And it's gonna probably take me another 4 hours because this is already going on an hour and a half, 2 hours almost. So I'm just gonna cut to the finished project and tell you how I felt about it, because I do not have the hard drive space to record another several hours of this. So let's cut to the end, and then we will try a different craft. Okay, it has been quite some time, but we have finished her up. I accidentally made a 7th. I was aiming for 6 and then I made a 7th, but honestly it turns out pretty well. A nice little 7-pointed star or flower. The main things that I have noted is that while embroidery floss is not the best for this, due to the fact that the stranding, like you see the little picots are flaying out, it is perfectly workable. The only thing is that the picots like to spread out. So I imagine doing a pattern that has less picots would fit better on this kind of floss. This took me about 5.5 hours because it was a lot of unpicking and redoing anytime that one of the knots didn't flip and I couldn't shift it anymore. So that was fun. That part's not the embroidery floss, that's just me getting used to holding it. I'm still struggling to hold the thread and shuttle properly, but I'm getting the hang of it, which is the important part. In fact, once I finished this, I went back and made another one. Once again, you'll see that the decorative picots are very much flayed out, but I don't mind that too much. This time I did actually manage to make just the 6. I did not use picot gauges, as you can see by the fact that some of these picots are much larger than others. But that's okay. This one, once I was getting the hang of it, only took about 2 hours. So already, like, yeah, obviously this one has one more chain, but 5.5 hours to 2 hours is definitely an improvement. There's definitely some parts where it didn't get pulled tight enough to join. Joining is really difficult for me, but again, we're getting used to it. I actually kind of like the red one better, but the green one was good practice for sure. And then once I finished that, I went and did a pattern that does not have decorative picots. I found this little clover freebie online. I will link the blog below. What is Wanda's Naughty Thoughts? But naughty as in knuts. Yes, clever name. But she has this little clover pattern free on the site. And since it does not have decorative picots, you can see that there was no issue with it being embroidery thread. So, good to know. If you're using embroidery thread, either come to terms with the loop-de-loops, get good at using picot gauges, or go for patterns that don't have decorative picots. Up to you. I will probably make more of these little clovers because they are adorable and I love them. So there's that. Now, that's part one. I'm planning to do 4 different crafts during this month because I still have so much thread and it's still early. The next thing that I'm going to be doing is darning. I have a whole mess of socks that had big old holes in them, and I picked up this little darning loom, and I have it loaded here, but I haven't done anything yet. So that's next part. But I'm gonna film that another day because I'm tired. This took my entire weekend, basically. Alright, it's been a few days, and I'm ready to try darning. I did have a quick thought before we start, though. Just happened for you, but I was showing off the tatting I did, right? And I showed how these picots are kind of splaying. I had the thought, what if we try thread conditioner, which is just, in this case, beeswax that you can coat your thread in. I think that that might actually prevent it from splaying out like that. I obviously haven't tried it, but I am going to report back to you. Probably next video with the other half of the Choose Your Floss Adventure stuff. So, if you're curious, check back in 2 weeks. Like and subscribe. YouTube things. But no, really, let's get started darning. Like I showed, I have this long sock, which I've bundled up, but it has a big old hole on it, and I would like to fix it because I like these socks. I've picked up some of my random thread to match, and I found this random purple that I have no idea what it is. It looks like 552, maybe, off the top of my head. It was not labeled, so I'm not gonna trust it. So we'll use that so that it matches the sock. And then I have this shirt that I have had for years, and I love it because it's green, and I obviously love green. But both of the elbows have holes in them. This one's even worse, I think. Hold on. Yeah. Berg. So I would like to fix that so I can try wearing it again. Now, I'm very texture sensitive, so I don't know if I'll actually be able to deal with darning very well, which is why I'm trying a sock, and then I can wear it and see if it drives me insane. The elbows should be fine, but we'll see. So this is a toss-up, but I wanted to try it, so here we are. Let's do that now. Alright, so we have our very inexpensive darning loom, which has basically just a bunch of hooks on it. And there's a little disc that comes with it that I've put inside this sock and then basically wrapped a rubber band around. Ooh, fancy. I am following a tutorial by Ministry of Mending, whom I will link down below because they actually know what they're doing and I do not. And we're gonna figure this out together. It doesn't show this in their video, but I did see people commenting that, oh, hold on, I'm already tangled, that the hole wasn't closed up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is stitch up the hole like I would normally before we do darning. Now, there are various ways to do visible mending that does not involve a speed weaving loom, but that is what I wanted to try. So we could have covered it up any number of ways with a patch of fabric, just stitching the hole up, embroidering over it, but I find darning fascinating. And while I am not using the same fibers as this sock, or like strong tapestry wool or anything. I'm just using 2 strands of embroidery thread. So I'm not expecting this to be a end-all be-all fix. I just want it to be pretty. That's the point of visible mending. So the main thing I want to do is just quickly stitch it up. And even though I'm stitching up this hole, this sock has seen so much. I swear I've had it for at least a decade. The other one surprisingly doesn't have a hole in it. But the fabric is still pretty thin. Like, you can see the wooden disc below it. So again, I'm not expecting this to be a permanent fix. I just want a cool little patch with cheap thread, so I can find out if I can even stand the texture of darning on my foot to begin with. Because there's no point in me going out and getting good threads for this kind of mending if I won't be able to wear the socks afterwards, if that makes sense. So I'm just very loosely stitching up that big old hole, just so it's not a gaping void. Oop. And now that it's not at all straight, let's see if we can straighten it up a bit, just so that I can use the sock as a guide to keep the bottom row straight. Basically, I want these hooks to be just above where I want the patch to end. The idea, as far as I understand it, is to come up here and loop, and then stitch. And I'm using 2 strands, so I have to be very careful not to pierce the strands, but I wanted it a little bit thicker. That should be good. It's covering the hole. We're set. So now the idea should be to anchor this thread. And then with all of these in one direction, I'll flip this around and do it from this side, but I'm putting my needle in across the top. And this needle is not long enough, but that's fine. Being very careful not to pierce the strands. And we've pulled it across. I'm going to anchor it over on this side. Flip these. And then do the same thing. Pretty simple concept, I think. And then we're going to squish it down. Anchor our thread. And then flip and do it again. So I'm just going to repeat this a bajillion times until this is full. And then we'll come back and see how that's done. Oh, nope. See, I've already pierced a thread there. So now it won't hide back. So I gotta actually undo that. Alright, so I'm just leaving that strand off, and then I'm going to actually load the next one with purple. Alright, so that's about as close as I'm getting to the top comfortably. I'm going to anchor my thread here and take this off. I'm going to gently pull this out and flip Now the awkward part, because I've got all of this sock to deal with. And yes, there's another hole at the heel. I'll get to that one. This was the big one. Take out disc. And now I'm going to be working from the other side of the sock. So let's first anchor these loop-de-loops. Just doing a little whip stitch, catching each of the loops that were at the top of that weave. And then let's go into the sock. And here's the inside of the patch. Nothing too bad. Hopefully that means that it won't aggravate my texture sensitivities. It is thicker in that spot than the rest of the sock, especially since, you know, this is a pretty thin sock to begin with because it's so old. It's probably enough anchoring. And now I gotta weave in these little bits that I left out. We have our first patch. It is thick, but we'll see how my texture sensitivities deal with that once I've worn it for a bit. But here's kind of what the patch looks like. Just a little woven area. Okay. Let's do that again. But this time with a shirt. Now, should I do it all in greens to match the shirt, or do something else entirely? That is the question, huh? I think I might actually do it horizontally as well. We've got our base. It's a little crooked, but it's probably fine. We'll see. Now to start. Let's get it. Oh. Come on. There we go. We have an elbow. I'm not going to put this shirt all the way on, but I at least want to stick my arm in it. Perfect. It's not quite elbow, but it's there. Neat. I'm gonna go patch up the other side. Maybe hem up this sleeve. Is the other one like that? Not as bad, but that should also be fixed. But we still got one more hole over here. This one's actually larger. It's huge. So I will patch that. Don't know if I'll use the same colors or completely contrasting colors, but it is nice that it is visible, and I did it the stripes in the opposite direction as the shirt stripes to make it stand out. Of course, I could have done more color matching and made it all fancy. It doesn't need it though. So I'm gonna go to do that off camera so I can sit in the dark like I usually do. And then I will come back to show you what I did. It is the next day and I went back and finished the other elbow. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my darning. But before I do that, I also went back and did a little bit more tatting. This time I did use thread conditioner. And as you can maybe see, the little picots are not all splayed out as much. So that does help. It does make it an interesting texture to work with, but that is an option if you would like to use embroidery thread for tatting. It's not perfect. There's still a little bit of splaying, but it's nowhere near as bad as, say, this red one, where, like, look at that. So, play around with it a little bit. You can use thread wax, like this is from Crafty Gurumi, a good friend of mine. Oh, no, you can't see that. There we go. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I've started editing the video and I realized that my autofocus had been on and freaking out the entire time, so I apologize. I cut most of it out to try to avoid triggering some people, but it is there. I'm sorry. Anyway, Crafty Gurumi makes these great wax-based thread conditioners that are scented. I have Coffee House, which is my favorite, and this one is Lembas Spread because, well, of course. The other option is to use silicone-based thread conditioners such as Thread Magic. Thread Heaven used to be the go-to, but it is no longer being made, so Thread Magic is about as close as you can get. But that might help keep the strands together if that is bothering you while tatting. Otherwise, get yourself some pearl cotton or something. I don't know. Some crochet thread. But that's worked for me. As you saw, we went through and darned this hole in my sock. These socks are, however, entirely too long to wear right now. So I also darned, actually I'm wearing it right now, let me get it. Yeah. I also darned a much shorter sock. This one actually had 2 holes in it. A Deadpool sock, so I made a matching red and black darning to patch it up, and I've been wearing this, as you can tell by the fact it's covered in dog fur. And strangely enough, it hasn't bothered me. It's both on my heel and on the pad of my foot. So I can definitely feel it, and it's a little bit thicker than the rest of my sock. But even though I'm usually pretty texture sensitive, it so far has not bothered me. Do with that information what you will. Test it yourself if you also have sensitivities. I was not going to be too hurt if I could never wear this again, so I started with a sock I didn't care about. But there you go. I did also patch both of the elbows of this shirt. One I did while recording, the other I did while watching TV. And similarly, like, this barely touches my skin most of the time, so not a problem. And now I can lean on my elbows all I want without bare elbows, which is probably what caused the holes to begin with. But that's fine, now it's reinforced. I am planning to do more darning. I already have another Deadpool sock loaded to work on. And I still need to patch up this smaller hole in the heel of this sock, but things are progressing. I do want to try some other types of visible mending, so you might see that in the next video. Like doing patches or other, just embroidering over holes. We'll see. Probably not a sock. I'm not going to embroider flowers on the bottom of my sock. No one will ever see that. But I do need to go through some of my clothes and see if there's anything else that needs mending. So that's this video. We did quite a bit of tatting. I have 2 flowers, some shamrocks, that weird little leaf thing. We mended some socks and my elbows, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. These are skills that I've been meaning to learn. Am I perfect at them? Hell no. But I am enjoying them, which is what matters. Next week, well, in 2 weeks for you, but next week, I'll be planning to do some quilting. So that'll be interesting. I hope you'll come back for that. Whatever you decide to do, though, keep creating. And maybe check out the Choose Your Floss Adventure Challenge to see if that inspires you to create in a new way. And I'll see you next week.